The MCU, it seems, has a problem, and many Marvel fans would agree with this. It is a problem so pervasive, so ubiquitous that it seems to have seeped into almost every high-grossing film of the past decade. The MCU has a joke problem.
I don't see how that's a party.
For all its success, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has a storytelling framework that cannot resist undercutting its own stakes with jokes and relentless quipping.
Use some help over here!
I'm kinda busy!
God damn it! If I knew I was fighting 50-foot robots with missiles attached to their arms, I might have would have taken another job!
This general unseriousness with Marvel content and cinema can be seen as both a cause and effect of our current climate of irony poisoning. Now, what is irony poisoning? Depending on who you ask, irony poisoning can have a multitude of meanings. So according to the Urban Dictionary, this is a worldview so dominated with irony and detachment-based comedy that the joke becomes real, that you start doing things that are immoral or wrong from a place of deep nihilistic cynicism. Now, the use of excessive irony in this case makes sincerity impossible. Everything has to be filtered through layers of detachment and sarcasm and self-awareness that nothing feels real anymore. So what is irony? Irony traces its way back all the way to ancient Greece, and the term comes from the Greek word ironia, to mean feign ignorance. Socratic irony, where Socrates feigned ignorance to explore contradictions in others' thoughts, is one of the earliest forms of recorded irony. Dramatic irony was used in the classical ages, especially in tragedies, where the audience knew something the characters did not. In Oedipus Rex, for example, we have the audience knowing Oedipus's true identity way before he ever does. In medieval periods, irony persisted through medieval morality plays and theological writings, and evolved into a more refined literary device, evident in the works of Shakespeare. His plays, especially tragedies like King Lear, are full of situational, verbal, and dramatic ironies. Enlightenment and satirical irony emphasized reason, and writers like Jonathan Swift used this irony to critique institutions like the church, the monarchy, and call out social hypocrisies. Søren Kierkegaard defined irony as the beginning of subjectivity. He believed that life for the common person began with irony. He also recognized, however, that it offered a freedom that can be overwhelming and negative, especially if the irony was used to negate everything and convey a sense of superiority. David Foster Wallace regarded irony as a diagnostic tool. He thought it mirrored the spirit of youthful rebellion, a difficult, painful exercise in productivity, one that was ultimately and sadly rooted in idealism, with a belief that once a problem was identified, a solution would inevitably follow. And irony has served as a diagnostic tool for ages. Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal is one of the greatest use of irony and satire to critique the upper class. In this essay, Jonathan offers the children of the poor to be eaten by the rich to reduce poverty and remove them from the street as an eyesore, he writes. It is true a child just dropped from its dam, maybe supported by her milk for a solar year, with little other nourishment, at most above the value of 2 shillings, which the mother may certainly get, or the value of scraps by the lawful occupation of her begging. And it is exactly at 1 year that I propose to provide for them in such a manner as, instead of being a charge upon their parents or the parish, or wanting food and raiment for the rest of their lives, they shall, on the contrary, contribute to the feeding and partly clothing of many thousands. Here Jonathan is mocking the powers that be, and offering a solution that is so outlandish, by the way. Eat your young, he says. This essay, David Foster Wallace would agree, is sharp, witty, and excels at stripping away pretense and exposing flaws with merciless precision. Wallace had a problem, however, with how irony was co-opted in media, especially in television, and this was the use of irony for irony's sake.
Hold it. What's going on here?
I'm pregnant.
You're what?
Yeah.
We're in the middle of a thing here.
David Foster Wallace watched TV programs and commercials evolve from sincere, dumb, and overly sentimental to ironic and self-referential.
U.S. film executive, Kaufman, trying to get a writing assignment, wanting to impress her.
Fictional media seem to have adopted an ironic approach without meaning or purpose, or worse, TV shows used irony to critique themselves for being dumb TV shows way before anyone could critique them for being that.
I'm reacting the way the world does to movies about making movies about making movies. I mean, come on, Charlie Kaufman. Some of us have work in the morning, damn.
Entertainment became more cynical and self-deprecating, and authority figures were either replaced with bumbling idiots or were placed there to be lampooned. Nothing took itself seriously anymore.
Noticed how pilot episodes of TV shows always have more gratuitous sex and nudity than the rest of the series? Oh my god, I have. So true.
David Foster Wallace believed that irony's power was inherently negative. It could shine a light on absurdity, contradictions, but would remain silent on how to resolve them. It could puncture illusions and mock authority, but it dismantled without offering a foundation for reconstruction. Irony lacked the regenerative qualities that were required for art and culture. It does not provide a roadmap, a call to action, a vision of what is to come next. So while it has the capacity to provoke and even liberate in fleeting moments, it risks leaving us in the very cynicism it seeks to critique. A song for a caged bird that has come to love its cage, as David Foster Wallace put it. And it really does capture the paradoxical nature of irony, because it offers the thrill of rebellion, but over time it becomes its own form of confinement. So irony becomes a self-perpetuating cycle of critique feeding itself. The detachment it thrives in keeps both creator and audience at arm's length. Irony, by its very nature, refuses to take the leap of faith demanded to engage honestly with anything. The bird's song becomes a hymn of cleverness, a hymn of self-awareness, of knowingness that leads nowhere, that becomes the very mechanism of entrapment. Irony creates an armor in modern existence so that our indifference mirrors the austerity of frugality in a world where attention is our ultimate currency. We are in a culture where every glance, every like, and every interaction is tracked, quantified, and monetized so that the attention becomes a transaction. So we must, at the very least, spend our attentions wisely. This commodification of attention has elevated indifference to become a virtue, so that being nonchalant, being aloof, being unaffected by things signals a sort of restraint. It shows that one is not easily seduced and is not willing to squander their most precious resource. Our focus is rationed, parceled, and reluctantly spent on things that may yield social capital. This frugality with attention comes at a cost, translating into a refusal to care deeply, a resistance to vulnerability, an intimacy and earnestness. And while this indifference may shield us from the demands of an hyper-connected world, it also insulates us from its beauty and its nuances. To betray our mask of indifference is to risk revealing and admitting that something outside ourselves holds power over us. So where does that leave us? We were raised to believe that irony would save us, and its ability to do so was idealized and overly inflated. That if we could see through everything, we were above it all. It was like a superpower. But as David Foster Wallace pointed out, irony is really good at one thing: pointing out what is wrong. It can diagnose, it can mock, and it can tear things down, but it cannot heal, it cannot build anew. Søren Kierkegaard was right. It is an overwhelming power we have in our hands, and it has left us in ruins. Irony isn't a tool anymore. It is a reflex. It is a defense mechanism. It has become a cage.
Serenity now, serenity now.
So I'm not going to pretend that there is a clear-cut solution for this. I'm not going to tell you that this is how we're going to heal ourselves from irony poisoning. But David Foster Wallace believed that the post-ironic man is one that was overly sincere, one that did sincerity in a way to rebel against irony. And that is the solution to irony poisoning. It is choosing irony when it serves us, and that is as a diagnostic tool, and setting it aside in matters where it does not serve us anymore.